For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Happy Hour Weekly. I am your host, Chris Wright. Don't forget, if you've been watching, please check out the YouTube channel, like that, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever podcast platform you listen to. Go ahead and give me a 5-star or like that. It helps the algorithms, help me get more views. The YouTube shorts have been amazing. The TikToks have been amazing. The Instagram reels, getting a lot of feedback. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn with the shorts and the reels and clips. So make sure you do that. Today's episode, I'm going to do something that's taboo. I am going to talk about politics in my own crazy kind of twisted way. But you don't talk about politics in business. It's a detriment. It can ruin your business. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about navigating your passion for politics or what's going on in the country while at the same time preserving your business and your business database. All right. Be right back. Talk to you guys in a minute.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the Real Estate Happy Hour, and I'm your host, Chris Wright. It's a fun place where we talk real estate, pop culture, and what's trending. Hey, I might even give you some good advice, so grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax, and take a listen. Unless you're driving, of course. I'll see you guys on the other side. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I am back. As I said, we're going to talk a little politics today. And again, I know from a business standpoint that is taboo, but we're going to talk because we all know that, especially since, 2015, politics has been very divisive. You got red, you got blue, you got Trump, and all three have different ideology. All three have very big differences. And I flip-flopped. I'm not afraid to admit I have flip-flopped on my thoughts about politics, about where I am, how I voted in the past. And I think I know why. It's mainly because I was supporting people and I wasn't supporting ideas or ideology or policies as much as I should have been. In some cases, yes. I think we're also attached to our upbringing. We're attached to our families and how our parents thought, how our community thought, our neighbors, our friends. I pretty much, if you grew up, and I'm talking, kids are being very rebellious now. So I'm not talking about Generation Z or the new people that are coming up. But there was a time that if you didn't agree with your parents' politics, they would kick you out. So, that's kind of where I'm going with this. I grew up at a time where I grew up in a inner city of Philadelphia, primarily Democrat. I don't think I've ever remembered. Well, there was, I believe, I don't want to. Frank Rizzo, I'll have to research him. I'm not sure if he was a Republican mayor, but I do recall there were a lot of very Republican and red ideas in the city while he was mayor. But most of my life in Philadelphia, up to I was 18, before I joined the military, it was a Democratic town. And just like most inner cities, I always hear the criticism that most inner cities are run by Democrats poorly. But neither here nor there. I'm just trying to give the illustration that you are pretty much a product of your environment. You think like your environment. You think a lot of times like your parents and family, and then you hear the noise so much that you tend to agree with what you hear in your community, at the local bars, in the restaurants, the politicians that circle your neighborhoods. Those are the people who usually make up your adult mindset when you decide to go into the ballot box yourself. So I just wanted to point that out. But politics can be extremely divisive. I have lost a percentage of my business because I too strongly supported one side over the other or one person over the other. I'm going to give you an analogy. So I love movies. I'm a big movie buff, have been since I was, 2 feet high. And what I realized is that I love the making of movies, even sometimes more than the movies. You can like Star Wars, but you ever remember those programs or those documentaries, The Making of Star Wars or The Making of The Godfather? I loved that. To me, that was more exciting than the actual movie. I don't know why I never got into Hollywood or cinematography or directing or writing. But my point is that I used to like the making of movies a lot more than I liked the actual movie. And there are some movies that I actually hated, but then if I was flipping channels and I stopped on PBS and I saw the making of something, I would automatically stop because I wanted to get into the makeup, the cinematography, the whys, the ideals behind why you did a shot, didn't do a shot, how the director decided to end the movie, how something that happened in the first 20 minutes correlated with the last 10 minutes, all that kind of stuff. When it comes to politics, I am the same way. I like the making of politics, but I don't always like the movie. All right. I like to see how the sausage is made, but I don't always like the sausage. So another perfect example is my support of Barack Obama. Everybody got caught up in the hyperbole, the guy, the man. The making of it was amazing. There was crying, there was tears, there was hopes of progress. Hope and change was the idea. We all thought that we were heading towards a post-racial America. And we just thought that we've arrived to this political utopia, this environment that it's here. The Dr. King dream has finally arrived. And the making of it was amazing. You got to admit, some of you got caught up in it too. I'm not alone. But we didn't necessarily like the movie. It was kind of anticlimactic. It was fade to black without an ending. It was, I don't know. So that was even his second term, there were a lot of people who said, now here's the thing for Barack Obama supporters. I'm not saying in my eyes that he did a bad job. It was just once he got in office, we realized that he didn't pull the strings. There was a lot of other people pulling strings because that's the way politics is. Any of you people out there who have dreams and goals and desires to be a politician, understand that your aspirations and your ideas doesn't necessarily transfer into sitting in the seat. Because once you get in the seat, there's people that's going to come over and whisper in your ears and go, that's very altruistic of you. Isn't that nice? You're special. But guess what? That's not how it works. Okay. So while I believe that President Obama had good intentions, I think he realized that this is not how it works. Okay. And then a lot of people were disappointed. And particularly people of color, because to this day, there are people that say, well, he did nothing for the black community. He wasn't a black president. He was a president he wasn't the president of the United States of black people. He was a president for all of America. So he had to make decisions and ideas and for the entire country. And even in trying to do that, there were people that still say that he touched on racial issues that he should not have, like the beer summit. He should not have gotten involved in a law enforcement or police matter versus this prominent black civil rights writer, Henry Louis Gates Jr. And he should not have said things like a law enforcement decision was stupid. He gave a race speech right before he was elected, which was great. People loved it. It wasn't I Have a Dream, but it was similar. But he talked about his experience with race and growing up in a mixed race family. And that really was, emotional. And people grasped onto that. And I think it did a lot for his election outcome. He was also tied to Reverend Wright, a fiery Chicago pastor who was divisive in his speech, divisive in his ministry. And he married the Obamas. And because of Obama's ties to him, people were like, you got some splaining to do, buddy. And so he had to censure Pastor Wright. So I think I'm going on a tangent. My point is that you start to fall in love with the person that's running. So because of that, if you're for, in many circles, you have to be against. And that's not how politics should be. If you're for something, then you need to be against something. And when you start to do that, you find yourself in a pickle, particularly if you run a business. It's crazy. So I driving around my town and city, I actually saw major businesses putting up Trump flags. This was Trump 2020, not Trump 2024. And then there was the election prior to that, Trump 2016. Like, there were major businesses with flags, signs on the window, full-throated support of Donald Trump. And I thought that was a bad idea. I thought it was a bad idea at the time. And I think it's a bad idea now. I also didn't think businesses should put up signs that said Biden. But people did that as well. And the bumper stickers on the back of the car, if you're self-employed, I don't recommend putting a bumper sticker on the back of the car. But anyway, back to the making of. So I love the making of movies, but don't necessarily like the way the movie plays out. And I didn't like that in the case of the making of Obama. Great job with the social media marketing. Great job on the campaign trail. Stump speeches were amazing. Probably no better stump speeches since Teddy Roosevelt. I mean, he killed the stump. That was the making of a president. Was I crazy about it once he was in office? Anticlimactic. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. But we all know that I lost business because not only was I for Obama, but I was against everything that he didn't believe in or everything that was against his ideas. And I made that very public. I was known as the, what did they call it? The pot stirrer, because I put things out there about politics on social media. I should not have done that. I was so anti. I read every anti-Donald Trump book ever probably made. They were all good. They were all entertaining. Because come on, Donald Trump is an entertaining guy. He brings the business. Like he brings eyeballs to social media. Look how many Twitter followers he got, how many, now he has his own social media platform called Truth Social. So my point is that by being against Donald Trump, that made me a fire starter. That is not good for business. So we all know that that can be extremely divisive. And you're going to lose business, whether you know it or not. People are just going to disappear. People are going to stop following you on social media. People are going to block you. People are going to delete you. Your own customers that you've done business with will no longer speak to you. Sometimes there's a dividing line that once you state what you're for, the people would rather not know. They will do business with you if they did not know. So you're probably thinking, like most people think, well, what about freedom of speech? And what about, the freedom to support what I want to support? You don't lose those freedoms. There are just consequences to sometimes expressing them. And if you don't care because you feel that there are enough people in your circle of trust or people that's going to do business with you, that your full-throated support of one person is not going to affect your business, then by all means, rock on. Were there enough Obama supporters to support me that I didn't have to like Trump, or I could talk about Donald Trump out in the open and not feel the pinch? There possibly was, but sometimes you have to look at your geography. Sometimes you have to look at your demographic and decide, is this smart? Is this good business practice? Is this, self-preserving? All right. So make sure that you think about those things prior to being out in the open. And then as I matured in politics over the last 10 years, over the last 4 or 5 years even, I realized that, wow, you know what? Even though I voted Democrat, I supported Obama, I support a lot of the social issues of the liberal parties, I also support a lot of ideas of the conservative party. I support a lot of ideas of the Republican Party. While I wouldn't fully admit that out in the open when I stood in my corner and stood my ground and supported Obama, the liberal and democratic agenda, I realized that in many, many ways, I was living a Republican life. I was supporting a lot of Republican and conservative ideas. So I want to get to how you can be in politics or how you can express your politics without losing business, right? You want to get behind policies that affect you personally. You want to get behind ideas. Now, here's what I'm saying. You personally, not I'm supporting this because 90% of my party supports this. Like, I'll use the big firestorm issue, abortion, all right? If you support, pro-life? If you're pro-life, that might be a personal decision. But if you are pro-choice, well, then that's an idea, even though you might be a Republican, even though you might be a conservative, but yet you're pro-choice because maybe you have a spouse or you're raising 3 or 4 daughters and you want that decision to be theirs and theirs alone. It might not be a good business decision in your household to say that I'm pro-life. Okay, so you just want to get behind policies that affect you personally, how they affect your business and your future family and your family future and your legacy. The policy, not the person. So if you want to put things on social media, you might want to say what you support, which is an idea, which is a policy. If you want to talk about the economy, then you talk about the economy, not the person, not the party, not the political ideology, meaning conservative or liberal. So don't be committed to a person. Be committed to the outcome and support the issues that affect your industry or workplace. I'll give you a perfect idea. I'll give you a perfect idea. PACs. I used to not believe in political action committees or PACs, but I'm a real estate agent and we have something called RPAC. And I was strongly against RPAC for a long time because I thought it was political. I know because we're self-employed, that I didn't know where the money was going, but I didn't want the money going to a particular party. So I would see realtors supporting Republicans. And I would get angry with that because I thought, I'm not putting money into a political action committee that supports a party that I'm against. But I was totally wrong about that. I'll explain why. Because one day I got to actually get involved in the process, and we have something locally called Lobby Day. And that's when we would go down to the assemblyman or go to the I forgot what it's called. We used to go to the state assembly in my city in Albany, New York, and we would visit various politicians who made rules and laws and things like that. And we would present any problem or challenges that we had in our industry, the real estate industry, and ask them to back or support us against things that would hurt our industry. It didn't matter whether they were red or blue. It didn't matter if they were Republican or Democrat. It was more, here's a problem that we're facing in 2020. This is going to affect us in a negative way. Can you get behind us in stamping out that idea so it doesn't come into fruition? RD, who cared? Will you support this? And there were people on the Republican side that goes, oh, yeah, this is ridiculous. I've been reading about this. I've been hearing about this. Hey, I invest in real estate myself, they would say. I have, 40 or 50, investment properties. If this law comes into effect, this is going to affect me personally. You know what, realtors? I will get behind you. Okay, I was like, whoa, high five. Way to go, Congressman. Way to go, Assemblyman. It had nothing to do whether they were red or blue, or Democrat or Republican. And if it meant me going to the ballot box and pulling a R lever because that's my guy, because he was totally supported my industry or my ability to make more money, you think I'm going to pull against my interest? That's just crazy. So no, I'm not going to do that. So make sure that you think about the issues that affect your industry, whether you're a steel worker or a plumber or a contractor or even a retailer or a merchant. You want to find out where the politicians that are running affect your business. What laws are going to come into place? Like another example, if you were a merchant and a party is rooting for, I don't know, a minimum wage that you might think is too high. Now, maybe you were for increasing minimum wage, but you were like, oh yeah, I'm for increasing minimum wage, but not that much. I think retailers all over America are pushing back against that by self-checkout. I've heard the self-checkout is more expensive. I don't know. But my point is, they're not hiring. There's not a cashier at every register. Everywhere you go, there's longer wait times. Service has diminished a little bit because there are some companies that just can't afford to pay the higher minimum wage. But if you are someone, you're going to the ballots and you're pulling a lever, you might be thinking, I'm not supporting that much per hour. I'm not going to say a number because then I'll be tied to it in this video. But I don't have employees that I have to pay a minimum wage personally. But even if I was to hire an assistant for my real estate business, I got to give that person minimum wage. And not only were minimum wages affected, the benefits that you have to give to full-time employees were also affected. So now you're going to these large retailers and no one's full-time. And you have very few part-timers. And you'd rather pay a machine for self-checkout or someone to stand at the door and go, may I see your receipt? May I see your receipt? You know what? That doesn't take care of all the problems. And people are whining and complaining. How come there's no cashiers? How come there's no cashiers? And I might say to them, why did you vote? Why did you vote to increase the minimum wage? All right. As much as it was. I go to my local convenience store and I'm seeing starting at $17 an hour just to get people in the door. And then what did that do with the wages across the board? People who were getting $17 an hour and that was considered a good wage, they thought, holy crap, now I'm getting paid the minimum wage. And they would want to go renegotiate their salary or their hourly wage. So it was just a problem across the board. We haven't still figured it out. But in the case of the politics and how you vote, that might be something that you consider when you're at the ballot. Be consistent in your support of ideas, not consistent in your support of a person, because a person has flaws. A person has flaws. So now, I didn't even want to do this video because I knew that I do clips. And when I make clips out of this full podcast, you only get a minute or maybe 90 seconds of the whole total idea. And a lot of those will get taken out of context. You would almost have to watch the whole thing in order to get it. But I'm still going to do clips and I'm still going to say what I'm going to say. But I'm scared. I'm scared. When Donald Trump came onto the scene, from the moment he came down the elevator. Now, if you're older and you knew the old Donald Trump from The Apprentice, from just him being a billionaire in New York City, how, his Miss America, was it? Miss America? Or was it Miss Universe? I forget. If you knew Donald Trump from the past, then you already knew that he was bombastic. He was very outgoing. He was extroverted. He was in your face. He wanted to be a celebrity. He wanted to be an NFL owner. As long as he can stand in front of the camera and say crazy things and crazy ideas, that's who he was prior to coming down the elevator and announcing his candidacy. All right. So he already had a ton of people who either didn't like him. He was also supported Democrats. He was also very liberal in his ideas. He was a heavy Clinton supporter because that was Hollywood. Notice that most entertainment industry support Democrats and liberal ideas. And Donald Trump was right in that. He was on the Howard Stern show 2-3 times a month. So if you didn't know that, that's a little background on Donald Trump and who he was. And a lot of people thought he was cool. Rappers rapped about him. Singers sung about him. In the hip hop community, he was the guy. He was who they wanted to emulate. And then when he became the president, the whole hip hop industry was against or anti-Donald Trump. But he was cool. He was good to be. He was Scarface of the business world. He owned real estate. He had Trump money. He owned hotels. He was Vegas. So that's why a lot of the hip hop community loved him and endorsed him. But then when he came down the escalator, and he committed to being a Republican and being a conservative, and he was saying anti-liberal ideas, the whole entertainment industry, Hollywood included, went against him. Then there was the trailer bus. When he's grabbing them by the hoo-ha, and how he talked about women and said some misogynistic things that didn't play well for the women empowerment community. And then, of course, people who, even though they have misogynistic rap lyrics, just snickered in the back and go, I can't support that out loud, but that was gangster, right? Yeah, but the more and more he came into our community on TV, the more people divided. Okay, and then there was good people on both sides thing in Virginia. Like more and more of the things he said, I don't even believe that Donald Trump believed a lot of the stuff he said. It was just that he's a fighter. Okay. So the more you fought against him, the harder he fought. That's just the kind of guy he was. The more you criticize what he said, he doubled down and came back and said it more. And a lot of people liked that about him. They were like, I kind of like this guy, right? Me, I was totally against it. I'll tell you why, because I like my presidents to be presidential. I liked my presidents to have etiquette. I liked my presidents to have a good demeanor. And I thought of Obama for 8 years. Agree with him or not, he commanded the podium. He commanded the crowd. He looked presidential, and he said presidential things, right or wrong. Okay? Can you agree with that? Okay. I thought of people like John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush. George W. didn't always say, act the right way because he was kind of a frat boy, but even he was presidential compared to Donald Trump. Bill Clinton, regardless of what he did with his ding-a-ling, he was presidential in most times. So Donald Trump was hard to digest for me and many others. And we pushed back against him as a society a lot, and we still do. But I gotta say, after looking at the current administration and the current going-ons in politics, I have to say, I kind of have to agree with a lot of things that Donald Trump tried to do in policy. Did I agree with him in his behavior? Do I agree with how he acts? Do I agree with his tweets or the things he said? Was he a mean person? Yes. When he was on town halls and debate stages, did he always act presidential? No, he did not. But if you just look at policy, I kind of find myself retracting a little bit and saying, you know what? From a geopolitical standpoint, I kind of agree with him. From a economic standpoint, our military standpoint, all those ideas, and a lot of the policies that Donald Trump had, whether he thought of them or whether someone gave him the idea, it doesn't matter. All presidents are given ideas, and they have a circle of people who give them ideas. Whether they were his or not, a lot of them made sense. Am I a full-throated Donald Trump supporter? I don't know. I literally have a year to decide. Thank God. I don't know where I would pull the lever if I had to vote today or if I would support Donald Trump. But there are things that I agree with him on. There are things that I don't agree with him on. But I am not going to just totally dismiss him altogether if he is to run for president again. Am I going to put a bumper sticker on my car? Probably not. Am I going to put a flag on my lawn or a sign in my window? Absolutely not. And I'm not even going to tell my constituents or my people, my customer base, who I voted for. Because I am voting for ideas. I'm voting for policies. And if I hear one come out of one mouth that are in line with my ideas and my thinking and my business, then that's what I'm going to support. I don't really care what mouth it comes from. And that's the mistake I made in the past. Because I voted for Joe Biden and I voted for Obama. It's in the past now, I can tell you that. But I'm not always liking what I see. I like the making of the movie. I'm not crazy about the movie. All right? So now back to business. In business, be prepared to denounce something, you see as a wrong, no matter who it's coming from. If you are a public liberal, but you see something that the Democrats are doing that is wrong, and everybody knows who you support, they're waiting for you. They're going to say, okay, where's the consistency? Okay, so make sure that you denounce something you see as wrong, no matter who it is and no matter which mouth it's coming from, because it's not in alignment with your ideas. Me Too and sexual assault, sexual misconduct has been in the media a lot, right? So if you see someone from your own party, from your own group, that's doing something that doesn't align with the sexual ideas or sexual assault ideas or treatment of women or misogyny that you agree with, then you need to call that out publicly because you yelled out against it publicly. But if you didn't say anything, then you can go into your little corner and hide. All right? Don't get caught up in the theater of it all who's supporting what. Just denounce something that you supported in the past. All right. I'll give another example. I'll give you some history. In 1900, that was the William Jennings Bryan election versus William McKinley, right? And William McKinley, President McKinley, was bought by the wealthy, whether the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the J.P. Morgan, all those guys, those wealthy guys, those railroad tycoons, they got together and they said, we need to buy a president that supports big corporations and big business. Where the candidate Bryan was for the people, and he did not have the money, the backing, that McKinley had. So he was like basically on horseback, going town to town, this is where the whole idea soapbox comes from. He literally had soapboxes, not stages, not podiums. He had soapboxes. He would stand in soapboxes, and large crowds would come out to cornfields and farms, and he would talk to them on these stumps. And he talked about jobs and people's livelihoods and the economy, low wages and fair labor and all that. He talked about unions. But even with all of that and all of these big crowds, he got a lot of votes. He just did not have the money to support. And this was at a time when companies knew who you were voting for. All right. They had corporate spies at the polls. And they were saying, if you're voting for this guy, you're voting against our boss. And people were fired. People lost jobs. It was just a whole different time where we had to put privacy into place. Like, there were people that worked at your company. Imagine standing behind you, looking in the ballot box and saying what lever you pulled. All right. So that was a different time. And they could basically affect your family. So although you supported William Jennings Bryan, you had to pull the McKinley lever. You just had to. So it's not like that now. But with that same breath of thought, imagine if those people had to preserve their jobs by voting for someone they didn't want to vote for. Imagine how you must feel today when you run a business, or if you live in a city or a town. Imagine if I was a Democrat, or I supported liberal ideas, and I needed to open a business in a Republican town or conservative town. People may just not support me. Or I had to go to town meetings or council meetings, and I were looking for, hey, can I put this sign in my window? They would be like, at your detriment, go ahead. If you think that's what you want to do, rock on. But then they would get in their small circles and go, we're not eating breakfast there on Saturday mornings. Okay? So just think about that. Just like social media posts. When you make social media posts, you are putting your sign in the window. You are saying who you support in your window. And I know in my business, being a DJ and being a realtor, most of my circle of people I know, are self-employed. They're photographers. They're DJs. They're in the wedding industry. They own wedding venues. They are, they're all from plumbers, electricians, contractors. Most of these people are self-employed people. And guess what? When they post on social media, they are saying, I am a plumber and I support Donald Trump. So if I support Biden, or if I'm a liberal and I need a plumber, I'm going to go, as I'm scrolling through, no, not him. No, not him. Oh, there's a plumber. I don't know what he supports, or he's red like me. Isn't it better not to know? No one's going to go when they call to hire you. And I've had this happen to me. Now, are you a Democrat or a Republican? Funny thing happened when I bought my house. When I moved in, a neighbor actually came over to me to introduce himself. He goes, hey, I'll use Bob for the sake of privacy. Hey, hi, Bob. Yep, my name's Chris. My wife, Donna, kids, blah, 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 blah. Welcome to the neighborhood. How can I help you? What do you need? He helped me mow my lawn, helped me cut some trees, the whole nine. He goes, I only have one rule for new neighbors. You got to be Republican. Now, he said it in jest, right? But I'm thinking there might have been some truth to that. Like how he thought. He was like, if you're going to live in this community, you need to be a Republican. I was like, I kind of played it off, laughed, joked. I didn't tell him who I supported or what I supported because he's my neighbor. I don't want to start off my new neighbor in a bad thing. I have some amazing neighbors, by the way. Amazing neighbors. And I can tell you, other than that guy, of all the neighbors that I met in my community, I don't know what their political affiliation is. And because of that, we are good neighbors. We help each other, man. We share firewood. We mow each other's lawns. I help them with something. They help me with something. We just have a great community of people, and we vote how we want to vote. And we believe that it's about community and being right by your neighbor and doing the right thing and helping with the raising of, one another's kids and all that. And it's never about politics. So I just wanted to make a shorter podcast today because I don't have a guest to talk about best practices when it comes to expressing your political passion and what you, how you should, basically navigate those waters when it comes to business. You guys have a great week. I'll see you on the other side. Don't forget to like and subscribe, mash that button, give me 5 stars for effort, even if I suck, and we will go from there. And once again, don't just watch the clips because clips don't give you the full context of what I'm saying. And I'm going to make this a clip too about telling you, don't just watch the clips, watch the full video or get more understanding behind what I'm saying. Not saying I'm a Trump supporter, not saying I'm voting for Biden. I'm saying I got 11 to 12 months to decide. So we'll decide that it's going to be based on ideas and it's going to be based on preservation. All right. You guys take care. See you next week.
At Granger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call, clickgranger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Granger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, clickgranger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.